Hello, friends of the Women Awakening Project. Today we are here in Boston with Susan Piver. She's a meditation teacher. She founded the Open Heart Project, which is the largest solo online meditation community on the planet.
It's also the only one, so it's also the smallest.
And she's an amazing writer. I had the honor of translating one of her books. We will discuss on that later. And so I'm really, really happy to be here today with you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you too. I'm so happy to know you, and thank you for your love of the Four Noble Truths of Love and for translating it. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, it was really an honor for me to translate it because it is so rare to have an explanation of the truth of the teachings of the Buddha related to the lay life and loving romantic relationships and so on. So it was a very unique take. I really recommend it to everybody, and I still probably have to reread it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will ask you something exactly on that later. So I would like to start from something that has really impressed me on your journey. So when you started getting famous due to your writings, your books, you decided to go on a longer solo retreat. And I think this is very, very unique because usually when things go our way, we don't really like take a moment to break and go within and check what's going on. So, was that a pivotal moment in your life that deepened your commitment to spiritual practice?
Yes, and I did go on a long retreat, but it wasn't solo, just for clarity. And yeah, a book I wrote, the first book I wrote, Questions to Ask Before You Get Married, suddenly blew up. And I was unprepared. And I started getting phone calls from TV shows and other places to come on and talk about this work as a relationships expert. And I knew I was not a relationships expert. And I was happy to promote the book. I was happy to talk about it. It was, you know, I loved that book. And it was just a book of questions. And I knew it had been helpful to my husband and my now husband. And I thought it would be helpful to others. So no problem. But it wasn't the success of the book that made me want to go on retreat. It was trying to duplicate the success. Like, oh, okay, now I've had this thing. People are offering me a lot of money. Cool. But now I have to get on some kind of a ride that I'm not prepared to get on. Like, how do I make the next book a success? How do I make it better than the previous one? How do I get people to really think I'm a relationships expert? And I'm like, I don't want to go on that ride. Also, I was older. I wasn't like in my 20s. And I had worked for a long time in the music business, such as it was. And I'd seen what happened to people who had successes and failures and the pain of trying to replicate success. I did not want to get on that ride. So I just thought, well, this is the time for me to deepen my practice so I can stay clear about what I really am here to do for myself and others. And it's not to be a relationships expert.
Okay, but you are good at like the way you write is really helpful. Okay, so but I understand your position. It becomes a different story when people project on you some roles. Can be heavy, I guess. Yeah. So, and how did your journey on like spiritual journey and the decision? I guess you ended up teaching meditation. So how did that happen?
Yes. Everything that has happened to me has happened because I fell backwards into something. I didn't plan it, in other words. So I wrote this book of questions, for example. I didn't plan for it to be a success. I didn't strategize, but I wanted it to be successful, of course. But I didn't have like this plan. It just happened out of the blue, and I'm not exaggerating. It'd been out for a year and a half, and nothing happened, and then suddenly. So I started to ride that wave, and then I worked at that time in publishing. I moved from the music business into publishing, and I would suggest projects to different publishers that combined a book and an audio component. Back then, that was novel. And I suggested to a publisher, you should do like a project on meditation. This was like 20 years ago, because I think it's going to start to get popular, mindfulness meditation. And maybe you could do like an audio on a book and something that explains how to do it. And they said, well, could you write it? I said, no, I can't write it because I'm not a meditation teacher. And they had read my previous book. They said, well, we would like you to write it. So I became a meditation teacher. And so I could write that book honestly. So that's what I mean by backwards. Well, like I planned to do it, and then I made a good life as a meditation teacher. I got an invitation, and then I said, "Yeah, I want to do it." So I learned to become a meditation teacher at that point, and then I wrote that book. It's called "How Not to Be Afraid of Your Own Life." It actually came out in Italian, I think. And that was my first real book that wasn't just questions.
Wow. Okay. And what challenges women face and which unique contributions do they bring when committing or exploring a spiritual path nowadays?
That's a very important question, and it has 1,000 answers. The biggest, not mistake, but obstacle I see in myself and I see in others is thinking I have to do it the way it's always been done, which is usually somehow connected to the patriarchal systems. Or the opposite, I have to not do it the way it's always been done. I have to reject that and do it my own way. Both of those are mistakes, I think. Buddhism is sometimes called the middle way. And what is it in the middle of? This is one of the first teachings of the Buddha. What we practice is the middle way. And this will relate to your question in a moment. On one end of the spectrum is eternalism, which means if I act right and do the right things, I'll go somewhere after I'm dead, which is great. And everyone I love will be there. Maybe that's true. I don't know. But there's someone judging me. And maybe that's true too. I don't know. But Buddha said we don't do that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, nihilism or nihilism is there is no one who can tell me what to do. I am the only expert on myself. I don't know what happens after you die, probably nothing. So I just have to make my life according to my values. That's not bad either. But Buddha also said we don't do that. The middle. And so it's not this, it's not that, and it's not neither, and it's not both. It's something that is continually fresh in the moment. Now. So the way that relates to this question is I see people, I'm not taking myself off this list, that think, well, I have to do it the way it's always been done. Because there are people who are smarter than me, which happens to be true, who are going to tell me what to do. That's a little bit on the eternalism side, even in the Buddhist world. Or I'm going to forget about all of that because I'm angry, which is understandable. Or I don't get what they're talking about, also understandable. And I'm going to make up my own way of doing it. That's also not good. So there's something in the middle. And I think it's hard for us women to say, I'm not going to do it this way because it's linear, it's patriarchal, it doesn't take women into account. And I'm also not going to reject it because there's tremendous depth and wisdom there. So each of us has to find our own way. And it's nuanced and subtle. Does that answer your question?
Totally.
Oh, good. Good.
Very beautiful way of describing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because often, yeah, I also encounter some extreme positions which are not helpful, I think, for the process.
Um, so when I think about my practice, which is my life, and I think, well, let me plan it. This is what I want to do. This is where I want to get. And I do. I mean, the whole point is to attain enlightenment. That's not ever to be forgotten. That's why we're doing this, not to be nice or whatever else we might think. But when I think, well, let me make a plan to become enlightened or achieve my path, it falls apart. But when I think, let me shepherd my practice, I can't build it, but I can shepherd it. What does it want? Where is it going? What is the vibe right now? What energies are at play? How can I respond? So for me, the path is more about responding. And that is not male or female, but it is aligned, you could say, with the feminine principle.
Mhm.
That works better for me. And I found that this is not a way that I can do things, but this is.
Interesting.
It goes in circles, but the
Mm.
circles are going somewhere. That's how I would say it.
Yeah, because you have an intention, like the intention finally, no, is driving a little bit.
I have an intention and I have karma
Yeah.
and I have, I don't know what I have. Those are two good ones.
So, your work often connects mindfulness and relationships. And so, how can we cultivate mindfulness to have a healthier relationship with ourselves, but also with others?
Well, a wonderful Zen teacher named John Tarrant Roshi, who's also a poet, said, attention is the most basic form of love. You know this because you translated my book, right? I try to work that into every conversation. Isn't that great?
Yes.
Through it,
Yeah.
we bless and are blessed. So if attention is the most basic form of love, which means I put my attention on you. Otherwise, who am I relating to? Who am I loving? I'm just thinking about you or thinking about what I think about you. Instead, to let all that go and place attention on you, that is the most basic form of love. So meditation, mindfulness, is cultivating the ability to place attention at will or intentionally. So in that sense, it is about learning how to love. It's not learning how to follow your breath. It's learning how the mechanism that is behind love is attention. So not just self-love, but loving someone else, because it's easier for many of us to pay attention to someone else and less easy to pay attention to ourselves. But through meditation, that's all we're doing is paying attention. And in that sense, it's the gateway to true love, I would say. What do you think?
Totally. Yeah, this quote are really sticking to my mind because when I read it, I was like, wow, I never heard this. I never heard, relating love and attention in such a way. And it is so true.
I know. You know where I first read it? When Oprah magazine first came out. So it's a long time ago. I was leafing through it and there was a whole page with just that quote and some roses or something. Like, I tore it out. I learned it from Oprah, so it must be true. But no, John Tarrant Roshi gave us all a great gift by making that very clear statement. And one of the primary distractions is projecting. When I project onto you,
Yeah.
I lose you. And that is what meditation helps us to avoid. Not to not have projections, but to be able to discern between you and my projection of you. And without that, you're just in a relationship with yourself.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Mhm.
Oh, we can go back to your book, The Four Noble Truths of Love, which I translated in Italian, so it's available also in Italian, Le quattro nobili verità dell'amore. How has your understanding of romantic love evolved through the spiritual practice? And I also want to quote you: meeting the instability together is love. This I also really like.
That's
So
good. Thank you for translating the book. I just want to thank you
it's
again.
a pleasure.
I never understood romantic love, so I can't say I still don't really understand it. But what I noticed is that when I brought the Dharma, as I have been trained, into my relationships as a way of understanding them and offering something beneficial to them, it really helped me. So, for example, the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, not of Susan Piver, are just life is suffering, grasping creates suffering. You can stop suffering because now you know the cause, so you can stop. And then the fourth is called the Noble Eightfold Path, which is how do you do number 3? Right view, right intention, right speech, and so on. I thought, as you know, because you translated the book, when we were having marriage problems, well, how can those Four Noble Truths help me? Life is suffering, grasping great suffering. So when I started thinking about it, I realized that they were present in my marriage, the Four Noble Truths. And it wasn't that marriage is suffering, it's that it's always changing, which what is meant by suffering here, not everything sucks. It means everything changes and is unsatisfying. So I thought about my relationship. I'm like, yeah, sometimes it's extremely satisfying, but it's always changing.
Mhm.
So, okay, maybe I could just accept that because it's the first noble truth that it is going to keep changing and it's not an indication of well, sometimes it is, but in this case it wasn't. And then wanting it to be different, the second noble truth, grasping, well, I could stop doing that and I could start to ride the waves of the change. And I know how to do that on good days because I know how to meditate. I mean, sometimes I can't, but I practice doing that. So I think my practice as a Buddhist, and I was Buddhist before I got married, has helped me to navigate the constant shifts and changes that happen between two people who share a household and share a life. It's and to not be uh, disappointed by that. Does that make sense?
Mm,
It is a practice. That's a little cliche, a little trite to say, but it is a practice.
totally. Sometimes it feels like an intensive retreat.
It does. Retreat is very hard. When is lunch?
When did I sign up?
Right.
I was not aware of it.
Exactly.
Mm. Yeah, also because in the relationship, I guess, at least from what I see, what you project is gonna come back at you. Like you are gonna face your own defilements somehow in a very uh, in a very strong way.
Yeah. Over and over again,
Yeah.
repetitively. So,
Uh,
can I say something about
Yeah,
that?
sure.
In the Buddhist view, there's sort of 3 ways to look at defilements or pain, anger, sorrow. And one way is that those things are afflictions. They're problems, and you should try not to have them. Try not to get angry. Try not to be depressed. Great, okay, if you can do that, it's really great. But that's just one way. They're not just afflictions, these difficult feelings. And the second view says maybe they are afflictions, but they're also ways to understand other people. Because when I meet someone in the future who is suffering from the emotion that I'm suffering from, I will understand them and I will be able to help them So at the root of this feeling is the possibility of great compassion.
Mm.
But if I just try to get rid of it,
Yeah.
I lose that.
Exactly.
Third view is maybe they're afflictions, maybe they help you be more compassionate, but they're also awake. And each difficult emotion, each defilement is hiding a wisdom. And if you can stay with it and look into it and not be scared by it or be scared by it, but keep going anyway, then you stand the chance of seeing something very awake and deep. So I'm choosing that one.
Yeah, the breakthrough.
I'm choosing number 3. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, the hidden gem.
Yes, the hidden gem, exactly.
I want to quote you again from Wisdom of a Broken Heart. You have a soft spot. Contrary to popular belief, it is not where you are weak. It is the gateway to indestructible power. So I think it's very important this remembering this power that there is in our vulnerability.
Yeah.
And also sometimes in when you feel like you're breaking into pieces, when your heart is broken, it happens sometimes.
Okay. Yes.
And it's very precious, that moment. There is a power in that vulnerability if we know how to be there. So can you share more on this topic and the importance of being with that softness, like keeping that soft spot soft?
Yeah. So you don't have any choice. That soft spot is there. You can't get rid of it. And heartbreak feels terrible. It's devastating. I just want to be clear that it's not like, oh, now I have a chance to learn something. It's shattering. And that's real. And there are situations in our lives, occasionally, where we have no more game. You know what I mean by that? No more game. Whatever I normally do to make myself feel good,
Yeah.
to help, whatever, none of those things, they're gone. I have no more game. In spiritual tradition, that's considered good news. Thanks a lot, spiritual traditions. Because now you can't run your playbook. That's the soft spot, is you're receiving, you are open, and it feels bad, and it's precious. I think that was your word. I agree with it. And you also use the word vulnerability, which I really appreciate, because that's the whole thing. And it's not about crying all the time or always being nice or anything like that. But if you meditate, in the case of the practice I do, and maybe the practice you do, you place your attention on something. In my case, the breath. Some people visualize things or chant things, but at some point your attention strays. And then something very interesting happens. Another part of you sees that you have strayed and says, come on back. So that something cuts through. Where is that? Where does that come from? I don't know. But that's where wisdom comes from, and love and insight and creative self-expression. It's something that cuts through, that you receive. So the ability to receive, which is synonymous with the willingness to be vulnerable, because you can't receive without opening, is the source of power, because it is the source of wisdom, the source of love, the source of creativity, and the source of, I'll say wisdom again, but not of understanding. By wisdom, I mean seeing clearly. Without the vulnerability, you're running. Does that make sense?
Totally. I love it how you express it.
Oh,
Yeah.
And if you practice meditation of any kind, you're flexing that muscle. Every time you notice you're distracted, you come back.
So regarding your Open Heart project, as a female leader in the mindfulness space, which lessons have you learned about building a supportive community?
I'll tell you the most important lesson that I've learned. Well, two actually, and it's whether not about being a woman or not being a woman, but when I was trained to teach, I was given very valuable instruction. And the instruction about becoming a teacher was don't teach anyone anything, help them to discover something. That is brilliant. And that helps me because I don't know everything. I'm not an academic. I'm not a therapist. I can't teach, but I can help you to discover something by sharing a practice with you, by holding space with you. And that I feel strongly about. And the second thing that has been most helpful to me, because I was like, wow, there's all these people in the Open Heart Project. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. Like I said, I hope they're figuring it out. I'll do whatever I can to be helpful. And the insight that has served me best is I cannot take care of anyone, but I can care about everyone. And that is my MO. That's my guiding light. And I'm not saying it's because I'm a woman or anybody could think that, but I feel like as a woman, there's a particular understanding of the difference between taking care of someone and caring about them. And when I think, well, I can care, and I almost always can. Sometimes I can't because I get angry because I think something bad is happening, but I can almost always, 99% of the time, really care. But I cannot take the responsibility of taking care of anyone.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
That was helpful to me.
And can I ask you also about money in the spiritual world? So when we do this kind of jobs, let's say, in the spiritual realm, there are also here the extremes. So these very expensive courses and retreats, it seems like to know yourself, you need a lot of money. To have the time to dedicate yourself to that and being in a beautiful setting, which is fine, but it's a bit extreme. And the other extreme is like no money should be there when we are talking about spirituality and practicing. What's your take on this?
I'm so glad you asked because this is one of my favorite subjects and it's very important. I mean, it's uncomfortable, but it's really important. So when I first started the Open Heart Project, I made the decision that it was going to be for profit. I wasn't going to rely on donations because I don't want to walk around like this going, please help me. That felt embarrassing to me. I didn't want to do that. And just like you say, I didn't want to be like, well, pay me millions of dollars because I know everything, because that would be ridiculous. And I also didn't want to just not take responsibility for my own life. And there are many people who feel that spiritual teaching should be free and get angry if they're not. And I say, well, the reason I charge money is because I want to live inside and eat food. And in order to do those things, I have to make a living. So I think the idea that spiritual teaching should be free is connected to the monastic world, which makes sense. They could do it for free because they were living inside and had food. So somewhere money changed hands, but they didn't have to charge money. That's great. But I'm not a monastic and so forth. So I try to be fair. I want to be successful. I want to be proud of myself and my life and what I do and support my family and all the things. And I don't want to be unfair. So it's walking a line all the time. But the sort of philosophical point that I continue to investigate and that I find supportive is that when Buddhism reaches new shores, goes to a new country or a new culture, it changes the dominant culture. and is changed by the dominant culture. So when it went to Japan, it mixed with Shinto and became Zen. When it arrived in Tibet, it mixed with the Bön tradition and became Tibetan Buddhism. And when it came here, now it's here, very recently, 50, 80 years. What is our dominant culture? It's not Judeo-Christian concepts. It's consumerism. That is our dominant culture. So now Buddhism is mixing with consumerism. It will be changed by consumerism, not its core content, not its teachings, but perhaps its delivery systems.
Mm.
And the exciting part is it could change consumer culture by introducing certain values. I'm not saying I can do this, but if I can build a business that is dharmically honest, like I'm not dumbing down any teachings, I'm not trying to say 3 ways to be awesome or like this is the real thing. If I can find a way to do that without either dumbing it down or making it seem very elite, like you have to, not everyone can understand this, then I'll be doing something good, I think. And it's a moving target, but it's reality, because we are in a consumerist culture. And so I'm trying to make a successful business that is dharmically honest. And usually people think you can have one or the other, but you can't have both. My noble experiment is to try to have both.
Yeah, that's important.
It is,
I
and
think
not
it's
just for me
important.
because of food and stuff.
Yeah,
But
it's an important shift
yes,
of consciousness.
exactly. And I trust myself, but mainly what I mean by that is I trust my teachers and I trust the teachings I've received. I have no question. I am not anything I teach, I am not making it up. These are all things I was taught. So that makes me feel confident. Not about money or not about money, but about I know I can be dynamically honest because they were. And if I F up, someone's gonna tell me.
Great. Okay, one last thing
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you is how can we keep an open heart with all the challenges that are happening in our human community?
Yeah. Well, I'd say to begin, notice when your heart is open and when it is closed. And don't try to change it. Oh, my heart's open, I hope I can stay here. Okay. Well, you're not going to. Oh, my heart's closed, I can't feel compassion. Okay. Actually, you can feel compassion. You can feel compassion for yourself for being unable to feel compassion, because that's a sign of your suffering. So the way to keep an open heart, I would say, is keep riding the present moment. Don't get in a fight with yourself. You should be different. Be brave. And the practice of open-heartedness and the practice of bravery, the same thing, is the practice of meditation. Because you're sitting there allowing your experience to be what it is. We're not trying to get anywhere. We're not trying to learn anything. We're trying to be. And that is the seed syllable of an open heart, I would say. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, for all your work, how you do it, and your creative experiments.
It's an experiment. Thank you for your good questions and I know I've already thanked you a couple times for translating my book, but that's a very deep thing because your mind had to go where my mind was. And I'm very grateful
Yeah,
that you did that.
and that's why I'm here.
Special.
Because I went for your voice and I was like, I want to meet her.
That's so nice. I'm so glad we could meet. Very glad. And best of luck with your project. It's important. Yeah. It's necessary. I can tell you believe in it with all your heart.
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
So if you want to know more about Susan Piver, the Open Art Project, the books that she wrote and that are going to be published soon, you can find a link below. Also, if you want to know more about the Women Awakening Project and ways to support, you will find also a link below. So, thank you.
Thank you too.